One of the things you said during running, you said that it was a mistake to give women the right to vote. I totally agree, by the way. But when you said that, when you expected to get women votes, what did you expect once you said that?
I actually saved that for after the campaign.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but I've always held that belief.
Yeah, me too.
After I saw this picture one day, and it was comparison what America would look like if only women voted, and what America would look like if only men voted. And it was blue wave for the women and a red wave for men.
Yeah,
And it's as women, they're so emotional.
yeah.
They are responsible for a lot of bad things that have happened in this country by the way they vote.
Yes.
Because they vote based on how it makes me feel. How, oh, those poor kids at the southern border, we have to let them all in. Oh, it's inhumane.
Yeah.
It's just they make choices based on emotions and womenly care and nurturing, I guess, which is like in our instinct, versus what is practical, what is right, and what is the unpopular thing to do, which men are far more likely to do, and they don't really care about what people think about them, as opposed to women who care about what everybody thinks about them. So it's just a really bad thing that happened. We go all the way back to women's suffrage. Things have not gotten better since then for America.
Right.
Look around us.
Yeah.
Things have only gotten worse as more and more women not only are voting, but they're taking positions of power within our country as well. So the more women that have taken public office, the worse legislation that has been presented. It's just worse policy. It's bad policy, and it's hurting our country because these women are making the decisions, and they also have like something to prove. Like all these women have like a chip on their shoulder, and it's just like, I got to prove, I'm a woman, hear me roar.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign off on these open borders. And it's just because it makes me feel good. And it's just terrible. It's
Yeah.
the worst thing that ever happened to our country. And also also pulling mom out of the homes too. It
Yes.
really has destroyed our country. We have a
Absolutely.
jacked up generation right now, and it's because nobody's mom is home raising them.
That's deep. That's amazing, and that is true. I talked about the Democratic Party on my show the other day, and I realized that the Democratic Party is never going to return to what it used to be. It used to be a little bit more conservative than what it is now.
Right.
And what I realized is that they have allowed the black women to take over the Democratic Party, and and the party is pretty much controlled by black women, liberal white women, and some weak beta men. And so I'm like, and they're all afraid of the black. Look at Jasmine Cricket. She is out of control.
I know.
That kind of person have
She's a
no
mess.
business representing us, America, in government. The world is looking, you know what I mean? And she's
No, it's true.
literally out of control. And there's women like her that's running the Democratic Party. And I don't think, unless they get rid of these people, which won't happen, I don't think the Democratic Party is going to ever return.
No, we have watched because it's unpopular.
Yeah.
It's they rose to power, and then they left their voter base behind. So, my grandmother was a Democrat. She was
Yeah.
alive during the time of JFK. She was a JFK Democrat. The Bill Clinton Democrats, that kind of thing. He was socially conservative, even though has turned out, what we know now. But back then he was socially conservative, economically liberal. And that's kind of what the Democrat Party used to be.
Yes.
And Obama was anti-gay marriage. And women, it's just women. Women have come into the party, the Democrat Party. They've risen to positions of power.
Yeah.
They took over, the Democrat National Convention. And then you watch as they have, speaking of emotion, the trans kids thing. That has been a huge woman push movement is what it is. Protect trans kids. Yes, you should be able to cut off your genitalia at the age of 6 if you decide that you're a girl, because of how it makes them feel. You see all the crazy moms on Facebook that their poor kid, they're like, oh, going to get our hormone shots for our little kid and chemically castrate them publicly. They do it for attention because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Well, those same women are running for public office and making that policy. And then they also make policy that hurts people that don't. Parents now, I know in the state of Delaware, you're not allowed to like deny your kid transgender services, or they can report you to CPS. It's crazy what they've done, and it's all by women. And actually, it's a Black woman that wrote that policy too, in the state of Delaware. And they just, what is up with Black women? Like, they have no sense, and it's no
That's true,
sense, and
though.
it's dangerous. And they
Yeah.
left their party behind. And you're right, they are destroying their party unless something radically changes, which I
Yeah.
don't see happening because nobody wants to stand up to the Black woman. Everybody's just kind of, they don't want to be accused of being racist or whatever. So, I mean, I don't see a return of it if it continues the way it does. But that's why you see them doing that with Gavin Newsom. They're trying to prop up Gavin Newsom as the
Yes.
new Democrat Party.
Yeah. I noticed that they don't, even in the Republican Party, they are afraid, except for Trump, they are afraid to correct the Black women. They are afraid of being called racist or misogynist, whatever, right? And then the Black women are quick to say, who are you to judge me? I know what it is. You don't know what it is to be a Black woman. We have had it rough all the time. And they're lying. They're lying.
Yeah.
But they get away with it because they know that white people are afraid of them. They're not going to tell them the truth. They're not going to correct them. And so they always use that. I remember a long story short, before I really got into politics, I was really young. Maxine Waters came to L.A. It was during the break, when they were on break, and Newt Gingrich was in office at the time, and he was really having an impact. And Maxine came in and to L.A., she had a little town hall meeting, and she was like, you shouldn't be afraid of the white people. I just tell Newt Gingrich off. I tell the white people off. I don't care. And the Black will applaud. And I'm like, what is this about? This doesn't even make sense to me. And it didn't make sense then, and it makes sense now because I know that the white people are afraid of them. My concern, too, is that the Great White Hope have appointed a lot of women to run his administration, his organization, right? And he's put them in position of power. And I'm concerned that because of the order of God, that these women were not created to lead in that way, they're created to follow. I'm concerned that eventually these women are going to take over the party, and we're going to have this, because it's not in their nature to lead because of the emotion, and God didn't make it that way. I'm concerned that they are going to do the same thing. I saw, I guess it's Christy Noor over the Department of Justice or something.
Are you talking about Kristi Noem?
The woman that's over the border and all that.
Yeah, Kristi Noem. She's speaking of Kristi Noem. So she actually couldn't even conserve the women's bathroom in her state. So there was this bill that came up to protect young girls in school sports. It was no boys in girls' locker rooms. It was something really obvious. She couldn't even. She vetoed that bill because she, again. She was filled with emotion. These poor trans kids, whatever. She couldn't even conserve the women's bathroom. And then he put her in charge of DHS. And now she's managing our southern border, which is a disaster. And you talked about the order of things. Yes, women are not, we are not designed. God did not design us to be leaders. He designed men to lead and us to nurture, follow, and support. And that's basically, what we are designed to do. And when you see us outside of our design or our calling, disaster happens. But you know what else? They've ran women presidents twice now, and America as a whole has decided no, that is not for them because people instinctually know women should not be president of the United States. It is not going to be good for our country if we put a woman in that position of power. We need a man to lead our country. So there is still hope there where people as a majority are voting against women being in these positions of power. Trump had to literally place Kristi Noem in that position. But yes, I am concerned because she couldn't even conserve the women's bathroom in her state and vetoed a bill that was very important to protect young girls and girls' sports in schools. So
yeah, I saw her in a picture recently promoting the border situation, and she had all these border patrols and other men all gathered around her, and she was in the middle of the picture with trying to look all tough like a man, and it did not work. And it made the men look weak. And I'm just concerned I why do you think Donald Trump put so many women in position of so-called control like that?
Because people have called him a misogynist, and white men, if he filled his cabinet and everything with white men, the media would have a field day, I guess, in calling him, this is the rise of white men. And, he's probably got women nagging at him in his administration, like Susie Wiles, who was his campaign manager. I think he made her chief of staff. So you have a woman in charge of your chief of staff saying, oh, you can't have all these men running your cabinet and running your country because they're going to have a field day with that. We have to put women in these positions. So I think those decisions are being made by a woman. I think if it were probably up to Trump, but also he needs to stop listening to women. Like that's the thing. Like he started listening to women, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And Susie Wiles, like she claims that she won the election for Trump with her messaging and stuff. No, Kamala was just that bad.
Yes.
He probably should have won by more, but Susie like really messed up a lot of his messaging. It was very bizarre. It was a very bizarre campaign. It was like almost like they were trying to drive off conservative voters. But however, Kamala was just that bad. Like that's why, he won. But also, I don't know why he's putting all these women in these positions, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with his chief of staff, Susie Wiles.
And the unfortunate thing is that it's going to end up destroying America eventually because the black women have already taken over and are taking over the Democratic Party, followed by liberal white women with them or liberal women. And eventually you're going to have the Republican Party controlled by nothing but women, and it'll just be over. It'll just be over. I wish, it's a wish, that let's say Trump had elected all white men, just all white men. I wish it wouldn't have mattered. Okay, these are the best qualified men for this situation now. I'm gonna let these men, doesn't matter what you say, these men are gonna do their job. You can call them whatever you want. I wish we had that, that type of thing happening. And it really would make America great again. But you got to get over the fear. You got to put what's right first in order to live that way.
Yep. And, for example, Christina, she took that picture looking all tough with those men. And she's like, yeah, we're going to crack down on these cartels and these southern borders. Okay, but when it comes to making the hard decisions, of course it's easy to deport cartel criminals. But when it comes to making the hard decisions, she's not going to be able to make it. She's going to make those decisions as a woman.
Yeah.
If it means deporting little children or separating them from their families or whatever, she's going to do the opposite of what is good for our country because of how it makes her feel, because she's a woman. And instinctively, she is not designed to make the hard decisions and upset everybody. She is designed to take care and, make sure the children are okay. She is not going to be able to do the job that we need her to do.
I totally
because
agree.
She is a woman. Yes.
Absolutely. Even in that picture where she was trying to look tough, she had on a man vest and all that. It still didn't work.
Her tough was like she wrote a book talking about how she shot her dog. She's like, yeah, this could make me look tough, and it made her look like a psychopath.
What a mess.